Okay, the next panel discussion will be moderated by the brilliant Jen Barrett from AppsFlyer, and we're going to discuss crafting products and experiences in the age of AI, keeping users loyal. I'd like to bring up on the stage Casey Kaplan, Chief Product Officer of BeforePay, and we've got Robin Hill from AWS, Head of Retail, Carleen McLeod from GM of Customer Loyalty from Cash Rewards, and Arijit from MoEngage. Please make yourselves welcome on stage.
Hi everyone, great to see so many people here today. A few familiar faces in the audience, so thanks for showing up. As Michael said, my name's Jen and I lead the customer success team at AppsFlyer across our Australia and New Zealand regions. For those who may be not familiar with AppsFlyer, AppsFlyer is a mobile marketing platform specialising in app analytics. So mobile apps, CTV apps, PC apps, if you have any of those, you might need a mobile measurement partner, we're where to go. So, yeah, thank you to Michael and the MoEngage team for having us along today at the Growth Mixer. We're thrilled to be part of it. It's our first event in Melbourne, so yeah, first of many, I hope. So yes, look, we did it. We jumped on the AI bandwagon. Everyone's talking about AI. It seems you can't really look sideways these days without running into these two very, shall we say, famous letters of the alphabet, A and I. For the last 3 days, I've actually been up in Sydney at the South by Southwest conference, and I kid you not, every second panel, talk, discussions, showcase, there was AI in there. And look, jokes aside, it's all for very good reason. We're at a point now where advancements in AI have well and truly made their way into mainstream society, and we're all dealing with AI on a daily basis, whether it be in our personal or professional lives. And so the topic for today, for our panel today, is crafting digital products and experiences in the age of AI. To kick things off, I actually want to start with a bit of an audience survey. So as a consumer in 2023, do you believe that you make rational or emotional purchase decisions? So we'll do a show of hands. So a show of hands for those that believe you're making rational purchase decisions. Okay, a few sensible people. And emotional. That'd be me. I've certainly made a lot of irrational purchase decisions in my time. Promotional. So look, the truth is our decision-making process is mostly emotional. So we're looking at values being upheld and propositions made by brands through an emotional lens, and then we're then making a decision. How well does brand A meet my expectations? If your brand is meeting my expectations, then I'll make the purchase. You can have my money. If you're not, then I'm out the door looking for the next one. So in today's rapidly evolving digital landscape, AI has become a driving force behind creating engaging and personalised digital products. So our panellists today are a diverse mix of experts across AI, product development, and go-to-market strategies. So together we're going to explore how AI technology is reshaping the way in which digital products and experiences are crafted to retain and engage customers. We'll dig into those strategies and the best practices and challenges involved in leveraging AI for customer loyalty. Get your questions ready. We're going to have some questions at the end as well, so keep an eye on that. So, Casey, I'm going to start with you. But first, for anyone... No, sorry, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Let's start with some intros. We didn't do the intros yet. So, yeah, I want to kick things off. And I'm actually I'm going to put you on the spot. I liked that whole fun fact. So, a bit about who you are, what your role is, and a fun fact.
Hello, my name is Arijit. I lead sales for MoEngage in the APAC region. I've been working here for the past 5 years, growing different markets across Southeast Asia, and now working very closely with Michael to set up the Australian market as well. And a fun fact, that photo of mine, that's a passport photo, and I don't know who's picked up from the marketing team and put up that there, where I know some of my colleagues are enjoying that. So yeah, I think that's the fun fact.
Hi everyone, my name's Casey Kaplan. I'm the Chief Product Officer at BeforePay. I think I have one of the most fun jobs at BeforePay because I get to look after growth, marketing, data science, and product, so all the fun stuff. And just really quick for people who don't know what BeforePay is, because it'll provide context for some of the questions coming up. We're a mission-driven organization that focuses on providing safe and affordable financial products. So our consumer offering, we have a pay advance product where we provide short-term loans for a fixed fee. So people don't have to revolve debt on credit cards or resort to payday lenders. But all of that's underpinned by our risk models. So at our core, we really think of ourselves as like a data science business that builds models, and we're generally applying that in financial services. My fun fact is that I have visited every continent.
Good fun fact.
Hi everyone, my name's Robin Hill, and I look after our retail and CPG customers here at AWS across Asia Pacific. I have a background in retail and CPG, data analytics, and this has kind of been my first tech gig for the last 2.5 years, so it's been fantastic. So I have the immense pleasure of chatting with our customers across the region and working through really what their biggest challenges are and helping them think through some of that, obviously underpinned by technology with wonderful partners such as MoEngage. My fun fact is I have an art exhibition coming up, my first solo exhibition on the 3rd of November. So if anyone's in Phillip Island, let me know. You're more than welcome to come along. So I am frantically in nighttime, painting, sculpting, doing all sorts of creative, wild things. So yeah, that's it.
Amazing. I'm Carleen McLeod. I'm the General Manager for Marketing at Cash Rewards. For those of you who don't know who Cash Rewards is, we're Australia's largest cashback ecosystem, really, and we connect our 2.3 million engaged shoppers with over 2,000 merchant partners, and we get a commission from the merchant, and we pass most of that back to our customers in the form of cash, really, of cashback. So my remit is broad as well, like Casey, and it's a lot of fun. I look after the whole sort of end-to-end member journey, so acquiring, activating, engaging, retaining, preventing churn, across our growth, customer engagement, CX and product marketing teams. And then also the other fun part is being able to kind of design shopping experiences or enticing kind of propositions to our members and our merchants that, get people shopping. So I am truly promotionally driven. I think my cashback balance is probably one of the highest in the business because I know when all the good deals are coming and I know all the bonuses. A fun fact about me, so AppsFlyer is our MMP partner actually, and it's we've been working with them for about 18 months now. But that's actually not where I met Jen. I know Jen personally.
You're going to go there, aren't you?
I've decided to do it. Jen and I met in the maternity ward. So and this is not why they're our MMM partner, but we're actually in the same mothers group. So just a very small world, and we've popped up in each other's lives a few
You
years
always look
later
glamorous 12 hours after giving birth, don't you? So we're looking a bit different today than when we first met.
100%.
Oh, very good. All right, thanks everyone. Casey, I'm going to kick off with you. You mentioned about utilising data science and machine learning. So could you walk the audience through what behavioural tendencies and patterns among your target audience that you really look into and take into consideration when you are doing product development?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start with conceptually what we're trying to do as a business, right? And this is probably true for most businesses. We're trying to drive business outcomes, which are normally financial, and then we're trying to create products that customers love at the same time. So that normally breaks down into doing qualitative and quantitative research and analysis. So I'll give an example of how we use both of those. On the qualitative side, one of the things that I love doing, we do it about once a year, sometimes twice a year, is a product market fit analysis. It's something all of you can do. And what you basically do is you email your customer base and you say, how disappointed would you be if you could no longer use our product? And people can respond very disappointed, somewhat disappointed, or not disappointed at all. And then you ask some follow-up questions based on how they responded. And from that, you understand how loyal your customers are to your product and what the unique differences are between those cohorts. So for the people who would be very disappointed, you get an idea of maybe what you should double down on. And from the people who responded, they'd be somewhat disappointed. It might give you ideas on directions that you want to head. So that kind of underpins a lot of what we do in terms of understanding our customer. When you're looking at quant and qual, the quantitative data is telling you the why, the quant's telling you the what. So we really try to blend those. When we then get into our app and our platform, there's probably two main areas we look at. So the onboarding journey, because someone's effectively taking out a loan with us, so they have to enter their bank account so we can pull transactions. That then gives them a risk score. They have to go through KYC, so entering their license. So a lot of personal information they have to enter. And then when we're actually lending, we want to make sure that we give them an appropriate amount of money that they can pay it back, because we charge a fixed fee. We don't make more money if they don't pay us back like other financial products. So with that, we understand our customer, we look at various data points, and then we do a lot of testing, as you might expect. So some good examples are reminder emails. You would think that if you remind people they have an upcoming payment, that would help you collect more money. Turns out it really depends on the customer. If someone's maybe not as creditworthy, that might not be the best thing to do. They'll move money out of their account before you do the pull. Whereas someone who's a longer-term loyal customer, more creditworthy, it can be an advantageous thing to do. So those are probably two quick examples to kick it off. We do a lot of machine learning and modeling behind the scenes to understand customers and look at attributes in an interesting way. The MoEngage team will tell you that from when they were onboarding us. We had lots of questions about that. And I think a little bit later we'll dive into some of the specifics.
Yeah, great. What sort of just a follow-up there, what sort of a participation rate do you get to those emails that you're sending out?
Let's see, we'd probably get about 10% of our base responding.
Yeah. So Arijit, with the increasing use of AI in product development, how can companies ensure that they keep the customers at the center of their decision-making process?
So I think anyone who purchases any tech product, right, they want the product's future roadmap to be aligned with theirs. So obviously, the tech company cannot cater to each and every part of their future roadmap. But that said, at MoEngage, what we have tried to do over the past 3 years is we've created something called a customer advisory board, wherein we've created these boards across different regions. So let's say for ANZ, there's something new, we are setting it up. It's already set up in Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, India, Europe, and US. And we're getting customers from different sectors. And we want their influence on how our product roadmap is going to be aligned. And that is very important, right? Because a marketer in fintech versus a marketer in retail will have different KPIs, a different way to go after those KPIs. And the way the product has to enhance is going to be two separate ways. So now we are trying to encourage a two-way communication directly with our product teams and not only with our customer success teams, wherein the product team has a direct understanding what is the market looking at, what are the different sectors looking at, how different regions, let's say for example, push notification probably is a channel which gives you higher ROI in certain parts of the world, versus email would be a channel which will drive more conversations in different regions and also depending on different sectors. Now understanding those parts and curating the product according to each and every sector and region becomes very important, and we want our customers to have a say in how the product evolves. So I think that's how we are going forward, but I'm assuming a lot of other companies are trying to work in the same way.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Robin, I'm going to go over to you next. So from your experience working with numerous clients in the retail space at Amazon, can you take us through different ways in which brands now need to pivot their digital and mobile strategy in this day and age to build that loyal customer base? And what role do you think that personalization can play in boosting the loyalty?
I think there was some really great points made on the previous panel about this, so I'll try not to echo too much of it. But I really think it starts with the customer and understanding, working backwards from that, and understanding the experience you want to create, either in a pure play sense or in a physical retail sense. And then bringing those worlds together. So we talk about unified commerce in terms of kind of overall engagement. For physical retail, 70% of in-store purchases are digitally influenced, either before or during that transaction. And so with that, we really encourage our customers to think holistically about the customer journey experience and then how they bring in technology to help solve some of that. I think there's a stunning example of one customer of ours where they they do this brilliantly. They're an athletics business, and they've got a very very excellent approach to kind of fusing together that digital and physical world. So in their app, it performs like a standard app. There's some personalized information in it, so they're tailoring kind of the curation of new products to that user. But the minute you hit their store and geofencing kicks in, it really transforms that app in front of your eyes and gives you an entirely different experience. So you can do things like have pre-purchased product and go and use a QR code to open up a locker. So you're not trying to scramble around to find your product. Or you could decide you actually want to try on something, but to try and wrangle and get someone to come and help you is quite challenging. And so being able to actually A, search for the product in store, see what's available, B, set a location in store for a store associate to bring that to you, or even C, pick up products that you want and scan them and ask for them to be delivered to a change room for you to change. So I think what's fantastic about bringing all that together and personalizing it to the customer, both in terms of offers that you're also activating when they come into store that are tailored to their preferences, and you know that what they're already kind of considering in their consideration, and then just making sure that you reduce friction at every aspect of that engagement and delight them, and then refill their flywheel of offers that come off the back of it, and kind of incentivize them to come in next and treat them differently, and treat them with the things that matter to them, not just kind of generic, here's 10% off, congratulations. Like really thinking about what matters to them, because it's different for everyone. And so I think there's continued advancement in personalization. We know that personalization is really table stakes for many customers. They just expect it to be there. And if it's not there, that's far beyond first names and surnames and emails, like really down to that tailored, what I was been thinking about. How do you kind of take me on that journey, reduce the friction, make it easy, and just give me a fantastic experience. But really thinking about that North Star of that customer experience end to end, and then just bringing in the right aspects to solve for it.
Yeah. Arjit, I'm going to come back to you now off the back of that. So off the back of these strategies suggested by Robin, you've now built a loyal customer base. But loyalty is dynamic, it's always changing, and we've got to stay listening to the customers. So how important is customer feedback in shaping AI-powered digital products? And what strategies can organizations employ to collect, interpret, and act upon the customer insights effectively?
So I think Casey also mentioned earlier, right? They do a lot of A/B testing. They onboard the users. They try to understand how to onboard the users. So let's say when you are going about creating a certain strategy, consumer feedback is the most important thing to understand what kind of a user experience to deliver and what user expectations you have to look after. So I think those are the two most important things, and I'm sure companies across different sectors are trying to achieve that. And when it comes to understanding both these KPIs or both these points, you can do a lot of A/B testing. You can track consumer behavior across every touch point on the app or the website, or even if it's an offline experience, if you can curate some of that post data, you can understand what the user purchases, right? Now, getting that insights and that insight being delivered to your AI team, which is going to be working on the product, is very important, right? So now the analytics team would probably go get those insights, they're delivered to the AI team, and then the UX UI team, which is going to be ensuring that how these insights are delivered back to the customer. How do you personalize the, let's say, the experience for the customer? That has to be very smooth. So I would say understanding what users do, getting the right insights in place, doing a lot of A/B testing, doing a lot of surveys, sentimental analysis of your customers, and then stitching it across your different product teams and AI teams is something which is going to make it more successful. And just to give you an example, I'm sure some of you would have used e-scooters, right? You would have seen these e-scooters.
I had a lot of fun on one last time I was in Melbourne.
So yeah, you would have seen Line,
Yeah,
Neuron.
right.
So one of those is a very big customers globally. And what they do is, after every 5 rides, they try to run an in-app survey to understand their customers better. So if you use their app, I don't know if I'm allowed to take the name or not, because it's their use case. So So basically what they do is every 5th ride you complete, you get an in-app pop-up. So right before you take your next ride, they'll try to ask you 5 to 6 questions. How was your ride? Why do you take this ride? Where do you take this ride to? How many stars you're giving us? And they capture all those things, and they allow a small box to fill in their review as well, like a 5-liner, 4-liner, and they reward the customer at the end of it. So probably, let's say $3, $4, or a coffee free right after they fill up the survey. And this actually flows back to their product team. And then the next time the person opens the app, it's actually customized according to the feedback the person had given. So I think those are some of the things users can do to change their AI strategy over there. Yep.
So we've now got the product, we've got the AI, we understand what people are doing, and now we need to market it. So Carleen, over to you. Look, I think we all know in this, everyone here knows that personalised and seamless customer experience is it's the key to winning customer loyalty. But what can consumer brands in Australia be doing to provide that seamless, personalised experience for their customers while still prioritising the human touch and customer centricity?
Yeah, we're very fortunate. We actually worked with Divide by Zero, and we have just landed an incredible MarTech stack. So top to tail, we've got a CDP, we've got a CEP, we've got lovely analytics dashboard, we've got MMP partner. So many acronyms, we got them all. We ticked all the boxes.
The dictionary.
Yeah, but what we found was all this tech landed. Like for a long time, we'd been working to getting the tech, building use cases. It all landed, and all of a sudden it dawned on me that we've got 30 or 40 marketers who are being unleashed with these tools, and it could cause some damage, right? Like everybody's going to go out there and build automation and do it at scale, and all these journeys are going to run into each other. And so we sort of had a bit of a pause and reflect moment, and reframed all of the different function-led activity that happens in our business every day, and there's lots of it, into that kind of customer view. So we did a big exercise. We did an end-to-end customer journey map. So back to basics, it was mirror board because we're hybrid. And then just for each stage of the life cycle, ask everybody in the room, like, what are you doing at the moment to acquire new customers? Well, which channels are you going to? What messages? What's the creative like? What's the KPI? And there was so much. So we sort of had a pause moment and went, okay, let's just define it into onboarding, engaging, and lapsing, 3 stages. What's the primary objective, first and foremost, for each of these parts of our journey? What are the primary and secondary messages we want to do? What's the CTA? And most importantly, how do we measure it? How do we track it? And from there, we started looking at, okay, well, how is app coming into it? How is our customer engagement platform coming into it? We've got an incredibly robust and rich data set across category, across 2,000 merchants, hundreds of thousands of transactions. So we've got strong recommendations engines. We know what you're going to be buying beyond what you've bought today. But how and when do we start kind of surfacing that versus when do we have more of a curated, 20% cashback at Cotton On today, because we know that performs really well. So we're going through that in a very experimental sort of way, but it's always anchored to those core objectives and core KPIs at each part of that member journey. And that's been we're still on the journey, but it has been quite a massive way of work, transformation in the way we work.
Yeah. Thank you. Casey, back to you. As an ethical lending product, it was essential for Before Pay to establish trust among consumers, ensuring that they wouldn't fall into a vicious debt cycle. And you mentioned earlier that machine learning models, that they calculate around 500 customer attributes, including income, expenditure, behavioural data, all to identify the eligibility for their loan limit. In your experiences, what are some of the best practices for ensuring that users feel comfortable enough in sharing data and having their experiences tailored?
So I think there's some good points in the last panel that they hit on that a little bit, but I think having a reason for collecting data and communicating that with the customer becomes very, very important. We've played around with a lot of different things, and for context, again, we're a lending business that charges a fixed fee, so we have to get it right. If we give people too much money, they default on it, and we're just out money. So our production model for our risk scoring has 500 features. Those features are derived of like of attributes, but we actually test tens of thousands of features to arrive on the final ones, and we're constantly improving on that. The most important part of our sign-up process is when someone syncs their bank account with us, because we primarily rely on transactional data from their bank account. And in Australia, there's the CDR regime, so open banking, where people can start to select which accounts they sync. So in some cases, for banks that we have open banking enabled on, we actually saw a drop off in how much we can lend to people initially, because they weren't syncing as many accounts because we didn't have as much visibility. So we did a lot of testing. So we ran into problems where they wouldn't sync enough accounts, or they would drop off in general at the bank sync stage. Then you go through kind of your mind map or driver trees of why is someone not syncing their bank account. They don't trust us, they don't want the product, those various things. And you start to hypothesize different types of solutions. You then run A/B tests and other various things to look at that. One thing I would caution around just doing A/B testing is I would encourage everyone to go relearn economics and statistics. It becomes very valuable as you get into the data. It's really great to see like personalization, but you really, really have to get to the underlying data and understand what that means. Again, if you're looking at lifetime value, you're going to have good customers and bad customers, and the attributes for those are going to be quite varied, most likely. So you can't just assume that you've ran an experiment and there's an equal distribution of customers that go through that. So you have to look at some of those things. But yeah, going back to explaining to the customer, what we've found is you need to sync your bank account, because that will give you your credit, your lending limit. If you sync more accounts, you can get potentially more money. If you again, behavioral, if you don't pay back on time, that can actually lower your lending limit the next time you use the product. So all of those things, and just being very transparent, but on brand with the messaging, we've found tends to be very effective.
Robin, sticking on the topic of personalisation, how can companies start utilising AI to help them segment their users in a more personalised way?
I think when it comes to AI, I think it's just kicked around so much at the moment. ML, AI, Gen AI, it's just... and so I think it really starts with being really clear on what it is you're trying to do, and then selecting the right kind of use case and right technology to bring with it. And I also think we can leverage some things like Gen AI to actually really help us understand our customers better. And so some of the use cases I'm seeing emerging in Gen AI, not to labour the point, but it's generally kind of 4 areas in retail I'm kind of observing at the moment. The first is around the customer engagement piece, and making sure that because you know more about your customer, you can then tailor the experience, being language, refinement through the chatbot, a more natural kind of way of engaging with them as well. So that kind of changes the personalised experience. There's a piece around the data insights and actually understanding your customer service engagement with your customers better, and using that as a summarization and insights generation. So again, to feed your understanding of the customer to create an ongoing, more personalized experience. And I think someone said earlier, you know, what's not working for them, and getting that really clear to sort of feed the way that you engage them, to actually address their concerns, as opposed to just kind of paper over them and hope they'll forget about them. From a retail operations perspective, from a B2B perspective, there's an interesting example a customer of ours is working on, where their field team, in terms of calling on businesses, they've taken an interesting approach of how do we actually engage with our B2B customers in a way that's going to be helpful. So let's assume we're a new rep going to kind of engage with those customers. How do we equip them leveraging Gen AI to really have a more dynamic conversation, to provide recommendations of product they should stock, to know that they're a great customer and they deserve extra margin in that negotiation, and to ultimately provide a next best action. So that's kind of cool. And then finally, from a marketing scaling perspective, we're seeing Gen AI really soar here, where having, knowing, for example, if you were a pet brand, knowing what kind of dog, which is relevant information that customers may provide, because it can kind of feed into lots of things about what's the right size of toy, or what kind of food's best for that kind of breed. you can then do some really cool scaling things that don't involve, that are highly personalized, like placing their dog in an ad in a location that you know they live from their postcode, you know, promoting a product that you know that their pet would like, sort of food and so on. So I think as we learn more and get more data, there's some amazing ways to think about it. But also, I think for me, the creep test, the creepiness test, is always something I'm very sensitive to, having spent a fair bit of my career in big data and thinking about that as well. So I think always coming back to just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I think that is a really something for all of us as leaders in our various businesses to think about. Like, how do you know, personalize things, but in a way that's really helpful for the customer, as opposed to, oh, isn't this cool? We could do that. Sure, but should you?
Totally agree. Colleen, loyalty would be a key focus of Cash Rewards, I would imagine. What role does personalisation play in boosting customer loyalty?
Yeah, so loyalty for us, we look at it a little bit differently. It's not sort of a program or points or tiers of customers. Loyalty, you know, I see it as a behaviour. It's somebody coming to choose to transact with your business over another business, you know, time and time and time again. So it's very much that kind of that transaction, that sale that you're looking for. And personalisation has just been so useful in terms of getting those nudges. So, you know, we look at the journey, the member journey. It's about how do we create all those little nudges at the beginning, and as people start to lapse, or even if they are in that engaged cohort, how do we nudge them to become a more profitable customer or someone who's transacting more regularly? So that personalisation has been critical in that, but also just how people are, the signals that we're getting from our customers on how they want to engage with us. So I think personalisation, machine learning is a big part of it for us at Cash Rewards, but it's also being in the right place where the customer wants you to be. So we work with AppsFlyer, we're using their one links, and we kind of craft different journeys, but depending on the customer, depending on how you transact, and depending on how you're engaging with our communication at the time. So we want to get customers downloading our app. We know that an app user is more valuable to us than other channels, but we don't want to interrupt the shopping journey, and we don't want to be a nuisance. And so we've built this kind of multi-journey where if you're on desktop, easy, you go to the web. If you're on mobile web and you have the app, that's fine, we're deep linking you into the app. But if you don't have the app, then we're going to mobile web, and then we're serving you with a smart banner which goes, hey, we have, like, the experience is better in the app. And just in kind of like setting up that kind of journey, we've had over 10,000 downloads, app downloads in the first 4 weeks, and they were free downloads, zero CAC. So it was really exciting to kind of see, once you start kind of looking at how your customers are engaging with you and giving them options, then sometimes they'll choose the outcome that you want. So yeah.
Thanks for the plug. I didn't even ask you to say that. But yeah, it's one of my favourite products. Robin, you touched on it a little bit, but Casey, I want to sort of loop back into that AI scariness area. So AI, you know, it is the hot topic. Everyone's talking about it, but there are some things to be cautioned about. So what are some of the risks and challenges with leveraging AI in product development?
Where to start?
We've only got
At the beginning.
Well, I think one thing to keep in mind is that for many organizations, AI isn't your product, it's the tools you're using to create your product. So we'll go generative AI, because that's all the buzz and large language models. Like I'm personally very scared from a business perspective using ChatGPT and other of the public large language models. Like I even though they say through the API they don't use it for training, there's no way I'm going to be sending PII to OpenAI to get a response. I'd love to, right, to see what a return, but I'm very scared about sharing customer data. So I think what we look at is how can we make sure the data of customers is safe and is in a really controlled environment. We have not put forward any large language models that are customer facing at this stage, but you know there are solutions emerging. So you know Facebook has their Llama 2 model, like that you can run on-prem, right? So the data is not going back to Facebook or Meta, whatever they are called now. Then I think there's always the question of how much data should you be capturing. All the clickstream data, the front end app behavior, maybe that's valuable, maybe it's not, depending on your use case. And then when you get to the more sensitive data, like bank transaction data and things like that, it becomes much more personal. So I think making sure the customer trusts you, making sure you have internal policies in place becomes important. A lot of marketing people here, that generally means you shouldn't be able to download your whole customer list of email addresses to transfer to different systems. So you need new types of integrations and security and control in place. I think that's where we're generally headed as an industry, managing risks in new ways as new technologies become available.
So I'm going to stop asking the questions, and I'm going to see if anyone in the audience has any questions. Put your hand up and I'll bring you a microphone.
Just while you're doing that, I may just follow up on like that topic there. I think it's something at AWS that we're really passionate about, is this. We have a different philosophy actually to generative AI, and that is about bringing the foundation model to your data. There's your data going to the foundation model, and doing that in a secure way within your own data assets. So I think it's a really valid point. I think some folks have learned the perils of accidentally loading up information to foundation models that suddenly are in different areas and accessible. But yeah, it's something that we are, for us, security and privacy is really day zero. And so we make sure that when we're thinking about generative AI and Amazon Bedrock and all the FMs, that you can bring the right FM that fits the problem you're trying to solve to your data. That's kind of core to how we're thinking about it.
Yeah, very good point. So any questions? Yep, we've got one down here. Hang on there. You can be the... Oh, my foot's gone to sleep. Oh, no.
All right.
I'll just sit down here next to you.
Oh, no. So I have this question for Caroline. Yeah. With regards to loyalty and rewards, I mean, in this digital age that we live in right now, it's so hard to keep track of how many loyalty and rewards programs I've actually signed up for, and every single brand, has one. So what do you think the direction is for the industry?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Before I was at Cash Rewards, I was at a little startup and we looked to democratize loyalty, and that's exactly what we were trying to solve, like essentially bringing all of your loyalty programs together and surfacing that for you. But I think it is going to be, especially with the data we've got now and with AI and being able to kind of have access to those insights at a scale that we've never had before, right? Like, I think it is going to be so much more about designing our products and our experiences around optimizing towards that customer rather than scanning a card. And even some of our most successful loyalty programs in Australia, like, it is still very much about a personalized experience, and it's not really about kind of like tracking points and things like that. That's just the sweetener. It's a watch this space. I think like we all need to be in loyalty, but it's just with the shape that's going to take. It feels like younger people think points are silly, but we still have a lot of older Australians who are really, really engaged with points. So I think, experiment, try different things, see where it goes.
Anyone else? Oh, that's easy.
Just making it convenient for you.
Thank you. My foot's awake now. No, it's awake now.
Hi. Incredible talks, by the way, today. My name is Priyanka. As opposed to a lot of people here, I work for a very different sort of organization. I work for a not-for-profit, and it's an industry association, so we essentially provide advice to hospitality businesses. Brings me to my question, might be slightly different for retail people that work in the retail space, but for me, how many push notifications is too pushy?
Well, if you use the MoEngage platform, it'll auto-optimize for you. Isn't that right?
Yeah, fair enough. So most of these modern platforms, they can actually understand at a user level, like, when does it get irritating? So like, you have to just switch off before that point, and it can actually tag. So there's something called frequency capping, right? So that can be done at a user level, so it can understand.
Yeah, and well, I think if you, like I said, if you freshen up on your economics and statistics, there's like a mathematical answer to that. So you could actually test sending.
Do you want a whiteboard? Take us through?
No, but like I said in the last panel, most things can break down into like a monetary value. So it's how many customers you're willing to churn out of your, I guess, engaged subscribers in order to maximize the return that you're trying to get. And as long as that number like basically is at 0 and doesn't go negative, you should keep sending push notifications.
Not for profit, so yeah.
They still make money. They still make, there's
Not a profit.
yeah.
Anyone else?
I can do a follow-up to that same question.
We're just going
We're
to
just-
attack you.
Yeah, pass the mic. Yeah. Well, so my follow-up question to this is like with regards to push notifications. Now, on my phone, I've got like hundreds of apps downloaded, right? And I'm one of those who probably might switch off or turn off my push notifications because every single day I'm getting my whole phone screen filled with push notifications. So how could we counter that?
So I think beyond the platform piece, ask your customers how much they want and where they want. And, you know, there are a lot of optimizations built into platforms for sure. But I think just if they're not deciding, then assume, I guess, that it's good and you're getting results from it. But giving people that option is really good. Before we sort of moved to this MarTech stack, we were 5 a week. That was our rule. And that was kind of like the maximum that we could process, and we felt like it was a good rule of thumb. We were getting pretty good results. But then when we started talking to our customers about it, we had our engaged members saying, you're not giving me enough. I want more. I want 5 a day kind of thing. And we've seen some of our competitors do that, and we thought it was too much. And other customers saying, I want 1 a week or 1 a quarter. Someone said that. So I think it's like, it depends. It's different for every customer. It depends on how engaged you are. We've got a very sort of, as I mentioned, promotion-driven product, so there is this sense of FOMO, and we've got this very engaged customer segment who want to see the deals the second they go live. But then we have other ones who are like, oh, I'm going to buy a TV around Black Friday. That's when I want to know, but not the rest of the time. Like, don't bother me. So ask, yeah.
And just to add there, I think Casey talked about asking the customer before capturing the data. The same thing, you can do it to increase opt-in rates. So you tell the customers to why you want them to send push notifications when you're onboarding them. And there are multiple ways to do that. So you need to tell them as to what you exactly want to send. What kind of a push notification? Why is it important? Right? An Uber notification is important because the driver's here. If you don't get it, then you probably lost the ride. The driver would go away and you may get a cancellation fee or something. So I think the opt-in has to be asked in a more personalized manner. Yeah.
Over here, yeah.
Question for Robin. So I might have seen your eye twitch a couple of times when people say AI in a not quite the right context. Maybe ML is more appropriate. Do you think you could explain when you would use AI versus when you would use ML?
Okay.
Do you want a whiteboard?
Yeah. Not really. I suppose I'll talk about the evolution of ML, deep learning, and then Gen AI. Maybe that's a way to do it. So in terms of, one way to think about those 3 things is about the input and the output that you get and what that means in terms of results. And so, 20 plus years ago, I suppose, ML started to be experimented, maybe longer. It started to be experimented with. It's something at Amazon we've done extensively across various ways. We deliver millions of packages a day, which all has robotics in our warehouse and fulfillment centers moving things around. But ultimately, when it comes to machine learning, it's about putting in, pretty basic input, and it's to do something specific. So an example could be, and kind of getting a single output in terms of that model. So for example, it could be something that is looking at characteristics of homes and then forecasting what a potential price could be. That'd be sort of an example there. In terms of deep learning, so that's kind of the next level with some deep neural networks and other things when it comes to that process. And that's about being able to take more complicated information, I suppose, and generate a summarization of that as a single point of model. So for example, demand forecasting. It's taking a variety of different sources of information to get to a finite recommendation. And then as Gen AI and this whole world of artificial intelligence, it's about taking, again, even more vast amounts of data and information and different sources, and then bring a model together. But that model can do many different things in terms of foundation model. So it could create, for example, an image. So let's say you'd put a prompt in of, hey, actually, what does a solar power bicycle look like? You know, and it produces an image of, you know, quite a funky looking bicycle with some solar panels on the wheels, and that's the image. It then, you know, generates text-based product description of that. It will also potentially generate what a social media post could look like. So lots of different applications off that single model. And so I guess artificial intelligence allows us to do, you know, many different things, and it will continue to evolve. You know, this whole bunch from Stack, which I'm not going to get into, but yeah, so it's kind of going from complexity of input to the complexity of output effectively is the evolution. I feel like you've probably got far more depth you'd like to add, but hopefully that will suffice for today.
No, that's great, thanks. I just picked up on it before a couple of times because, yeah, you're right, it's different use cases, right?
And maybe I'll just add to that, not explaining what there, you did a great job. But I think depending on your industry and use case around AI, machine learning, pick the method you're using, matters, because in some cases you have to consider explainability. Like, do you actually care how or why the output is what it is? So one of the challenges in financial services sometimes is if you're looking at responsible lending and saying, well, why is this your credit score or the amount that you lent to someone, you kind of have to be able to explain that to a degree. I don't really know if that's the case in retail, per se. I haven't done too much in retail, but then with the new privacy reforms that seem to be coming out in the next year, I'm just started reading up on it, but customers can ask how you're using their data and how you arrived at decisions. So I think that will then have an impact on AI models as well, again, depending on how they're being used.
And I think there's going to be my forecast is that there's going to be a lot more in the future around declaring, you know, the declaration of, you've received this output from financial services because it has been, you know, done through a model. You know, you are able to go and request a human to review this and kind of have a discussion with us. So I think from image creation, like we think, you know, as I mentioned, I'm an artist, I like hacking around with some paint. And so we've seen various, like, you know, competitions where Gen AI images are winning them. I think there's really going to be this piece around transparency of, you know, copy that's written by humans, images that are created by humans versus. So I think that whole governance and a responsible framework around governance and AI and ML more broadly is going to be really fascinating the next couple of years.
Whole other panel or 100 that we could do on those ones. All right, we're at time now, but I'm just going to round out with one final question. Same question for each of you. So what, according to you, is the key takeaway for our audience today when leveraging AI in customer engagement, loyalty and retention? And a little bit of a double-barrel question, if you know, or you know, if you want to nominate any customers that are doing it really well today.
Perfect. I think customer feedback is very important, and it should flow into how the AI works, right? So understanding the user experience and the user expectation, as I said earlier, I think it's going to be very important. And I think one brand which is doing really well, you put me on the spot. I'll pick up my deal because they're one of our customers. So.
I think the takeaway I would say is to get the most out of data, map your end-to-end value chain, try to get as much first-party data as possible, and really understand, like I said in the last panel, like what you're trying to get out of it. And just because some model says that you should do something, like actually look at why that is before you just action it for your entire organization. Lots of companies probably do it well, so I might pass on that answer.
Yeah, I'm going to pass on that part of the question as well. So, but I am going to say two things. The first is start with the end in mind. What are you actually trying to achieve? And bring the right technology. So if it's ML or AI or Gen AI, whatever, actually what are you trying to do? And why are you trying to do it is probably the main one. And the second thing is, and I don't feel like we've probably touched on it enough today in the conversation, is around giving the psychological safety to your teams to experiment and learn, small scale. And then to be able to scale once they see success. Because I think, particularly with the commercial challenges many of our organizations have at the moment, and that close quarters of trying to show value all the time, so often failure isn't really tolerated, but the truth is if we don't have failure, we actually aren't pushing the envelope far enough, and that really could be quite detrimental to the organisation long term. So I think, as part of that digital transformation McKinsey piece that was referenced earlier, a big part of it is about creating, psychological safety, having executive leadership that can actually guide your leaders to understand why it's so important to fail, because often there's this commercial versus technology tension where commercially you have to succeed or else you're pretty crap at your job, to be honest. And if you're in the technical space, if you're not failing and experimenting and kind of trying stuff, you're also failing in your job. But those two worlds sometimes don't understand each other because of that perspective. So having the executive leadership to support your organization and educating the commercial side is really important as part of that journey.
We can drop the AI part of the question out for you, Colleen. We can just look at what's the key takeaway for driving loyalty and retention.
I think we are looking at AI at the moment in fueling experimentation. So we've got we've got an in-house creative agency, but it takes a lot of time for them to be building out creative, and so we're starting to shift towards, instead of them using AI end-to-end, or us using AI, not being designers, they're using AI as a starting point. So they get to kind of like 80%, they're learning how to prompt with AI with Midjourney, and then we start getting lots of different variants. And in the customer engagement platform, you can get lots of different variants on subject lines and things like that. So using that AI as an accelerator, and so we can start testing faster, and so we can get to a point where it's like, okay, we know this is going to work, and we can do that much quicker now than we have been able to ever do that before. But I think like the role of the tech and understanding the data as a marketer is so critical now. If you don't understand how your data is being piped and how things are working and what it means when you're pulling a segment from a CDP, then it's if you don't understand it, you can't use it really. You don't need to understand how to write a SQL query, but you do need to understand like what it is or where it's come from. What does it mean for you?
Amazing. Thank you so much to all of our panelists today. And
Thank you.
Thanks everyone.